The Prepper Podcast, episode 51.
We've got to know whether or not they're presidents of Christ.
The American people would never vote for socialism. He said, under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program.
The Prepper Podcast is an up-to-date survival podcast based on military, wilderness, and modern-day survival and may be found at theprepperpodcast.com. I am Ken Jensen, and this is the podcast about everything survival. My goal is to teach you strategies on self-reliance and to develop survival skills and critical thinking in everyone, resulting in a more resilient and enjoyable life. This is episode 51, and today is yet another throwback issue. This issue is a throwback issue from episode 23 about the best non-lethal weapons for men, women, and home defense. Alright, in this episode, I talk about things like security system ideas, such as dogs, false TVs, lights, locks, door jams, things that can strengthen your windows. I also talk about, personal defense, like guns, weaponry, and stuff like that. But then my main topic that I get into is the non-lethal items that you can use, such as pepper spray, baseball bats and batons, lights, slingshots, and even more. These are things that I think that you would want to use for personal defense, even if you are one of those people who try to shy away from guns, or if you don't think that you're going to be able to pull the trigger if you need to. These are non-lethal ways that you can do so. You can protect yourself without worrying about having to take a life or something like that. And that will surely, pepper spray to the eye is surely going to make someone want to run away. Because it hurts. Pepper spray hurts. The show notes for today's episode may be found at theprepperpodcast.com/051. You can also find it at theprepperpodcast.com/non-lethal weapons. So I'm just going to have a quick housekeeping real quick. My vacation is over. All right. The vacation wasn't quite as great as I thought it was going to be, but it was still pretty good. It was time away from work and everything else. And now that I'm back, I'm trying to hurry up and get through my emails and stuff like that. I'm wrapping up the outage now. During the outage, it's 16-hour days, and I just am exhausted from this outage. Just exhausted. But I am at least doing an intro for you guys, so hopefully you appreciate that. And as you can tell, I'm not getting things out. I didn't get this one out on Friday like I normally do. I think that it's very important that I get things out at the typical time. But since I'm not getting this out on Friday, I just want you guys, I apologize, and I want you guys to understand that because of the outage and everything, it's going to take me a couple weeks to get back into the rhythm and the flow of everything. All right. This has been and will continue to be a busy few weeks for me. So I have to give you another best of podcast. I am finally, though, beginning to pick up checking my emails again, and I've seen all the feedback that you guys have sent, and it's awesome. But anyways, I am checking my emails again, so if you feel like emailing me at ken@theprepperpodcast.com, you can email me, and I am getting those now. All right, as you know, I have products that are coming out. Now that people are starting to purchase things, I have the funds to create a forum website for you to use. I have actually had one awesome listener stand up and say that he would be the administrator for the forum. So what that means is soon he is probably going to be my business partner, and he will be administering the forum, and that means that he will probably need to pick a few people out from the forum to become moderators. Okay, he will be the administrator, and he will need moderators to help him on this. And if you guys don't know, the moderators of this forum are going to be trusted people within the Prepper Podcast community, so there will be more that a moderator gets to do in the future for the Prepper Podcast, not just for the forum. So obviously, if you're a moderator of the forum and you don't wish to take on the things of the Prepper Podcast, that is fine as well. It's completely voluntary, but I think it is a great opportunity for those who become moderators to get a little something that the other people don't get. So if there are any great business attorneys that want to help with the drafting of a partnership agreement with this other person, you can contact me by email. Once again, my email is ken@theprepperpodcast.com. And I think that the next show that I put on is going to be the one where I answer all of your questions. All right, I'm going to answer all your questions on the next episode, God willing. I am exhausted, so I hope I don't have to do another best of. I hope I don't have to do another throwback issue. I want that to be the one where I answer all your questions. So if you would like to join in as well, then you can contact me. If there are too many to do in one show, I may make it a 2-show thing. I may have to just overflow into the next show, and that would be a good thing. 2 shows full of listener feedback, and I can answer all your questions specifically. That's better than me just coming up with something to talk about and giving you that spiel for an hour. Now I'll be able to take your specific answers and I'll be able to answer those so that person will have a much better answer for their feedback. So if you would like to join in, then make sure that you contact me. If you keep sending me feedback, I will try. This is over the long term. If after these 2 shows, you keep sending me feedback, things to be put in the show, I will try to answer at least 1 question per show. I also have a lot of products in the future that I will be going over. So anyways, let me get back to the feedback. If you would like to leave feedback, then the best method is to call me at 978-KNOWS-IT or 978-566-9748. And if you go to my website, there's a green banner. So if you're on your computer or your laptop, click on that green banner and you can record feedback right there just using the microphone that's built in on your laptop or the microphone that is attached to your desktop. You can also leave me comments in the show notes, and you can email me at ken@theprepperpodcast.com, or you can go to theprepperpodcast.com/Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. I'm going to tell you right now, the feedback that will make it on here first are the audio feedback, because I enjoy the audio feedback more than I enjoy people emailing me and me having to read through it and filter through it and all that. Audio feedback is easy. I plug it in there and I answer your questions. All right, so try to leave audio feedback if you can. So let's get into today's throwback issue. So I told you guys that I was going to talk about defense strategies and stuff like that with non-lethal weaponry and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of talk to you about the fact that the economy it stinks still. Yeah, they'll tell you that everything's doing great, but I'm telling you, as somebody that works in industry and sees the direct effects on his paycheck from the economy is not as good as what they're telling you. And when it is good for us, it's because we're pulling orders ahead. We're not really getting a bunch of good weeks. So the economy's not as great as they say. And if you think about that, people are still jobless. The unemployment rate, people are just running out of unemployment is what's really happening. That's why the unemployment rate is down. So there are still children out there starving, and it's not that bad yet compared to what it could be. So with the economy, if it falters completely, or if it crashes and burns, or whatever you guys think it's going to do, and your children are starving, what are you going to do to get your children to eat? Are you going to go onto somebody else's property that has, a wheat field? Are you going to go onto somebody's property that has a huge farm and they have a big garden or something? You're going to sneak a little bit of food out of their property? You're going to become a thief for your child's lives? Would you be willing to steal, so that they can survive? Would you be willing to kill? If you're willing to steal, then you're not very far from being willing to mug people. And the fact of the matter is a lot of people that are great people now, that may change whenever their children's lives are on the line. So, are you willing to mug people just so that your children can survive? Come on. You just hold somebody at gunpoint. You tell them to give you some gold or some money, and that's it. That's it. They give it to you, and you run off. But sometimes those situations would go sour, and people would end up dead, because when put in a high-stress situation and guns are involved, then people are going to end up dead. Either the guy who tried to mug someone or the person that got mugged. Somebody could end up dead. And that's the kind of stuff that can happen even between two perfectly normal, what you would call great members of the community, good Samaritan type people. This is the kind of violence that is a real possibility in this kind of situation. People really just don't think straight. They don't think that they'll kill, but they may actually do so in this high-stress environment and then just regret it later. So you don't want to be put in a situation where you have to take a life and regret it later. So first thing we want to do is we want to put a couple things in for home protection and stuff like that. So, the biggest thing that you can do for home protection is put in a security system and make sure that the sign for the security system is out front, because that's a deterrent. A lot of people won't go into a home because home security's come a long way, and a lot of people with new home security have video cameras that are connected to the cloud. So, if somebody comes in, they're not only is it going to alarm and they have to run away before the cops get there, but even after they've run away and they think they're off free, the cops are going to show up because you ID'd them on the camera. So a good home security system with some cameras and a sign out front, that'll deter people from showing up. And another good thing is a medium to large dog. Be honest with you, if I hear a yippee dog, I'm not going to worry about breaking into that home if I was a burglar or something like that. I'm just going to, if I hear a real loud, low bark from a medium to large dog, that's probably the house I don't want to be in. So I'm probably not going to go into that. So those are just a couple quick things. I could go further into 3M strips and stuff like that, but that may be for another day. Another thing is when people are coming into your home, you probably need to have some defense weaponry, and I'm just talking like firearms. Have shotguns, maybe youth model shotguns, maybe tactical shotguns that are easier to maneuver, and a sidearm. Have a sidearm for each adult in the in the house or something like that, so that it's easier to maneuver and get over to the other people. It's easier to be a little more tactical and discreet with things like that. But with a nice pump action shotgun, you're going to make them pee their pants and then run. If they don't run, then you're going to fill them so full of lead that there's a good chance that you'll, at a minimum, blow them way back, and they're probably not coming straight at you anymore. But this is not what the main subject is. For those of you who really don't know how you would react with a firearm in your hands, and you really don't want lethal weaponry, you don't want something that's just going to be able to take somebody out, but you want to be able to defend yourself. Well, I'm going to have a list of things today. Probably I think I have 8 different items, but in the list, it's kind of a different list. It's a list of 7 things, but there's sub-lists and stuff like that. So the first thing that you want in your non-lethal arsenal would be pepper spray and or mace. All right, mace is chemical, okay, and pepper spray is a concoction that gets into the eyes and it burns real bad and stuff like that. But mace actually is a chemical that attacks the central nervous system, and it's actually really good. And I think pepper spray kind of attacks the nervous system as well a little bit, but it's usually not as bad as mace, and that's the reason why mace in a lot of areas is not legal. But I'm telling you that you can take some people down with pepper spray. Get yourself a good big bottle of pepper spray. You want to keep that on every windowsill. You want to keep them hidden in different locations in every room. And if you're out and about, you may want to keep some pepper spray on you as well, just so that you have something to hit somebody with. If you think that you're going to be someone that hesitates to fire your weapon, just go ahead and have some pepper spray on you. Another thing that you can use is a stun baton. All right. Stun guns are great. You can shoot them but they're one use. If you miss, you miss. But if you have a little handheld stun gun, not really a gun, but the little handheld, everybody calls them tasers. They're not really tasers, but the stun gun that's handheld, and you hit the person with it and it shocks them. Those are great, but you have to, reach the person, and you have to have a direct hit with the tip. But when you do hit them, it's going to knock them down, and it's going to hurt them, and it's going to shock their system, and they're not going to know what to do right away, and that's going to give you the advantage to either flee or fight and win. So you get them in a position of, they are defenseless for at least a second or so after you hit them with a stun gun. And the best of everything is go ahead with a stun baton, and the whole thing is energized, so you can just hit them like you're going to hit them with a small baseball bat or a little billy club or whatever, and the whole thing is electrified, so you could probably get somebody. If you get a good stun baton, you'll be able to hit somebody with that stun baton, and it's gonna really take them out. That's a really good thing. I mean, you could take somebody out with a baseball bat. You may as well electrify that baseball bat. That's what a stun baton is. Another thing, mag light. Now, it's a flashlight, but the mag light is heavy duty. I usually recommend the 4D cell battery version, because the 3D cell battery version is usually a little bit too short and a little too light. But with the 4D cell version, it's long enough that you can hit people. Now, what's really cool is if you go on Amazon, I'm giving you guys some tips off of my survival goal on a budget that I've been talking about lately. This is one thing that I found when doing research for this survival goal is mag lights have an attachment where you can turn them into a baton, like the police would use. And that in itself is an entire martial art, learning how to use a baton. And then on the end, you can put the tactical ring on the top of it, where the flashlight is, and then at the back of it, you can put a sharp. At the back of it, where the batteries go, they have this sharp tip that you can screw onto it. Instead of using a little flat tip, you can put a sharp tip on it. It's meant for breaking glass. So you just turned your mag light into an extra, into like a super tactical weapon. And most mag lights now, if you don't already have one, most mag lights now are LED and they're pretty darn bright. So a mag light is always really good, and you can beat the mess out of somebody with a mag light and you can get away. Another thing is a slingshot. If you have a professional slingshot, then you're going to be, and you got the little bearings or whatever you need, you're going to be able to get really good flight out of those bearings. And you can take somebody out with one of those things. You could actually hit them in the temple and kill them. Chances are is you're not going to kill somebody with a slingshot, but you can hurt them. You can probably stop them and make them run because it hurts a lot. It's like, it hurts a lot more than getting hit by a paintball, and this person's not protected. You hit them in the face with one of the bearings and stuff from a slingshot, and you're going to cause some damage. Another cool thing is Ninja caltrop. The caltrops are just bent pieces of metal, really. It's one way to think about it is if you remember the game of jacks. You had the jacks on the ground, you threw the ball down and you picked up the jacks and then you caught the ball before it fell to the ground. Well, think of these as big industrial looking jacks. And the point of a caltrop is to throw it on the ground and stuff behind you. And that is so that if somebody is coming at you, these caltrops will probably go through the sole of their shoes and cut their feet up, and it will stop them from coming at you. And if they do, you can just throw more down. Usually you can get like a pack of 10 or something like that whenever you buy them. And I think that might be like $9 or $10 for a pack of 10. So it's $1 per caltrop. So if you went and spent, $20-$30, you'd have plenty of caltrops to have in a little bag behind you, and you could throw those down on the ground. And anybody that's chasing you is going to get a pretty nasty awakening when they accidentally step on them, especially at night. Now, a lot of people say use caltrops and stuff like that to take the to flatten somebody's tire. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Like in a high-speed chase or something, flatten their tire with some caltrops, and that doesn't happen. These caltrops are going to get into the tire, and yeah, it's going to cause a leak in the tire, but chances are is it's not going to cause a big leak. It's going to be a small leak, and when it does finally leak out, they can still move on the rim. It's not going to stop them. It's not like a sudden blowout usually. Now, I'm not saying that a sudden blowout can't happen with a really big caltrop or something like that, but what I'm saying is that you shouldn't rely on these caltrops to stop a car. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't rely on them to stop anybody in heavy boots, but a lot of times they do. It depends on what kind you have and things like that. Well, so caltrops are really good as a defensive thing to help you get away when they're coming at you on foot, but is not the only thing that you need to worry about. All right, I'm actually getting through this really quick, so there's a good chance that this episode is only going to be like 25-30 minutes. And that's okay. That's fine with me because it's such a gorgeous day outside. I really need to go and play baseball with my son. We're practicing so that he can get a little bit better. So if this is only 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes more that I can practice with my son. So we'll get back to the list. Next is kind of a category of a couple things. It's specialized protective gear. All right, one thing that you can do for specialized protective gear is like a small tactical flashlight. So a lot of these flashlights, they can mount to the to a pistol or something like that, and you can have your flashlight on the pistol, and they do really good. Most of them nowadays, they're the really bright LED, and I mean, it's going to hurt people's eyes, especially at night. And they usually have like a tactical flash mode on them. And if you use the tactical flash mode, you can really mess them up. You can really, kind of confuse them a little bit. They can't see anything. They're not going to be able to do anything to you. And a lot of cops, a lot of times in the, what cops have been trained to do is to hold a flashlight not in front of them, but to the side. So if somebody tries to shoot at the light, there's a good chance. Well, number one, they've got to be a good shot. But number two, there's a good chance they're going to miss the cop because they're going to be shooting at the light that is like 2 or 3 feet over from the cop. So you don't want to hold your flashlight right in front of you unless it's on your firearm. Then your flashlight is obviously going to be in front of you because you're going to have your weapon drawn and on the target. But a small tactical flashlight is very good, and the flash mode is awesome. It will mess up their eyes, and they won't be able to see anything. They won't be able to do much. And that's kind of why the cops use those big spotlights on the side of their car. That's why they use those spotlights, is so that you can't see them approaching, so that you can't open fire on them. Which, let's be honest, it's a very good thing for them to have, because, it's a dangerous job. Personal alarms. Now, this is one that people don't really think about that often, especially, in the tactical world or in the prepper community or anything like that. They don't think about personal alarms. You can get a personal alarm, and I don't remember exactly how much it's going to be, but it can't be more than $5 or $10 a month. It's just a little bitty alarm that you trigger by pushing a button, and you trigger that alarm, and it goes back to like ADT or another one of the companies or whatever. And that alarm, when it triggers them, it also has a GPS, so they can track where you're at when you hit the alarm. And when you do that, help can come. They can follow the GPS signal after that. So even if you're on the move, there's a good chance that they'll be able to find you and get the assailant. All right, now I went through a couple of the non-lethal weaponry, but here's the most important weapon that you got. All right, if you learn nothing else from this short podcast today, the one thing that I want you to learn is that your brain is the most important weapon you have. It is the most important tool you have, most important weapon you have. Your brain, your brain, your brain. You need to pay attention to your mind. That is what's going to get you out of a lot of situations. We can look ahead and train, okay? The human... A human is the only animal that isn't reactionary only. Okay? A lot of animals, they sense real fear. Okay? So don't say that they don't sense fear, they just react. A lot of the animals, they sense real fear. They have danger. I mean, that's just part of what they are, and that's how they survive. Your dog has fear. A lot of times they will bark because they are scared. But here's the thing. An animal has fear. 5-10 minutes later, it's not really going to care about that fear that it had. And it's not thinking about fear in the future. That's the issue. People can fear the future even though we're the only animal that can look into the future, be afraid of it, as in like the same exact type of fear, the same heart rate pumping, blood pumping, heart rate increasing. We're the only animal that can look into the future, something that hasn't even happened yet, and be afraid of it. But that is a good thing as well, if you harness it correctly. Don't just have fear, because that's going to throw you into a depression. What you want to do is you want to use that tool, look ahead, and train for something before it happens. Okay, I'm actually, I'll get to that here in a second. You want to look ahead, and you want to train your mind and train your body for things. That is what preppers do. So, if you guys are listening to this and this is your first podcast that you've ever listened to on survival or anything like that, listen to me very carefully. It doesn't matter what is about to happen if you don't prepare your minds and prepare your bodies and prepare yourselves and your families for those scenarios. You are already doomed to fail. It doesn't matter what happens in the future if you're not prepared. You're going to fail. So we want to train beforehand. And a lot of this is let's go ahead and get prepped up on the things that we need. And those are training exercises too. You have to sit back and you have to actually think to make up these lists on the things that you need to survive each of these scenarios. So at a minimum, a lot of preppers, even though some of them are tin hat and they may seem crazy, a lot of them are very intelligent individuals, and you wouldn't even know it. Most of them you don't even know are preppers until they tell you that, because they look just like the rest of you. Okay, they are, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the most involved community members that I know in the area that I live are all preppers. And that's because they're informed individuals and they know what is around the corner. But here's the thing. You can train before something happens. That is the great thing about being us. Things don't have to just happen to us. We can be prepared for those things, and we don't have to be afraid. That's the big thing. That is why we prepare for things, is we do not need to be afraid of anything that is going to happen, any of the disasters that are going to happen. If we can do something about it, then we prepare for it, and we do not fear it. A lot of the people, the argument that I hear the most is people tell me, well, I'm not that kind of person. I don't want to live life in fear. I don't live life in fear. I enjoy my life. Okay? My life is awesome. And I have even less fear now than I ever had in my life. Why? Because I know that I'll be okay when a lot of these scenarios happen. Now, there are some scenarios that I know that I'm not equipped to deal with yet. Will I get there? Probably. I think I will. I'll work toward that goal. But if those couple events happen, and I'm not going to tell you which ones, but those couple events happen that I don't think I'm prepared for, I think that I will probably still make it through okay. Because I've been working my mind and I've been thinking. So part of the thinking and looking ahead and preparing is, and since we're talking about defense, take some self-defense classes. All right? Just go in there and learn how to do basic self-defense. If somebody grabs you, learn what to do. That's really important. Take those self-defense classes. And though some of them are cookie cutter, but get some one-on-one training so that you know what to do. And self-defense, the biggest thing about self-defense is to get you to a point that you can run away. That is the biggest point of self-defense. Let's get you to a point where you can run away safely. So take some self-defense classes. If you want to get into martial arts or something and you want to, do a lot more than basic self-defense, then more power to you. I really commend that, and I'd be proud of anybody who decides to take that as something that they need to do, because martial arts are very important. So, but we're sticking with some basic things here. take self-defense classes. The next is take, and this kind of plays in with the martial arts, is you need whatever weapons of choice that you're going to have, whatever weapons that you think that you're going to have on your person whenever it really matters, train with those weapons. If you are a gun guy, you need to be trained with those guns. Because if you don't train with those guns, all they are a club. They don't do you any good if you can't shoot them. All right, you need bullets, you need a gun, and you need training. That's what you need. All right, so train with the guns. If you are using pepper spray, you need to get good at aiming your pepper spray. You think it may sound funny, but get good at it. So buy a bunch of pepper spray. Buy some cheap stuff if you have to. Buy the cheap stuff for practice, and then get a couple of the good ones and make sure that the trajectories are the same. But you need to have some practice spray so that you know where to go instantly when it matters. Practice with your stun batons. That batons is another martial art. Practice with your baton, your now baton-like maglights, or your slingshots. If you get good with a slingshot, that is an actual tool for hunting small game as well. Get good with placing your ninja caltrops. Get good with your flashlight and always know where your personal alarm is, and be able to feel your personal alarm even if you can't see it. Know how to get to that button and push that button. So it's very important that all the stuff that I'm talking about, you train with. You have to train with this stuff, or else you are doomed to fail no matter which of these you've decided to use. Well, we have reached the end of the show. I just want to remind you guys that I have products out. Remember my products that I have out. I have the prepperpodcast.com/how to be a prepper. You can go there and you can get my 1-year resiliency training, or my resiliency system. That's a better word for it. You can go to theprepperpodcast.com/how to be a prepper to get to my 1-year resiliency system. And I have not one, but 2 new medical products that are coming out, right? The main one is called Advanced First Aid Kits, and the smaller one is called the Gun Carrier's Trauma Kit. Because of the split of these products from the individual product that I was going to do, I have decided that if you purchase the Trauma Kit training, the price of the Trauma Kit training will be off of the First Aid Kit training. And if you purchase the First Aid Kit training, then you will get the Trauma Kit training for free. So basically, you have the option to purchase one without the other, but then you also have the option to get a discount on the other one if you purchase the other one. Because these items were split from one another, I reduced the price of each one and made discounts for each one based on whether you purchase the other one or not. Okay? And you don't have to worry about the details, because in each training I give you the details on how to get a discount on the other one. All right? Speaking of the discounts, I give tons of discounts on all my products that are available. Number one, I have discounts that you can use if you are a listener of the Prepper Podcast and you email me at ken@theprepperpodcast.com. You can get a discount from me, a discount code that I can send you that you can use at my store. If you are a reader of The Clever Survivalist, there's a discount there. These discounts cannot be compounded. All right? I have other discounts for other specific things. You cannot compound these discounts. You have to use one or the other. However, there is one discount that can be compounded with any other discount, and that is the service member discount. That means military, paramedics, police, anything. Armed forces, civil forces, anything like that. if you are a service member of this community, then I want to thank you by giving you a discount on the entire thing. You actually get a pretty good discount. So if you're a listener of the podcast and you are a service member, then you can get the products at a doubly reduced rate. Now, isn't that cool? So go ahead and send me an email if you want any of these discounts, and I can give you the discount codes. Oh, and by the way, not only can you compound the service member discount with the listener discount only works on individual products at a time, but the service member discount works on the entire store, the entire purchase. So if you purchase 3 or 4 items, then the service member discount will give you money off on all of that. And with that, this was Ken Jensen of theprepperpodcast.com with another throwback episode, teaching you strategies on self-reliance so that you can build a more resilient and more enjoyable life. Have a wonderful week. This is Ken, signing out.